Hi, I'm Andrew Wallace, and I'm going to be reading from my book, Celebrity Werewolf, for Super Relaxed Fantasy Club. From The National, page 2. Saved by a werewolf? Sally Wisniewski, 21, was jogging in a park in Kent when she was attacked by John Fonting, 37, who had been stalking her for a year. Unemployed Fonting, who writes a conspiracy blog, punched Wisniewski twice in the face, knocking her to the ground. Fonting was uninterrupted in his attempts to rip off Wisniewski's clothes by this massive grey thing that was like a gorilla, but taller and more pointy. The creature hurled Fonting against a tree, causing very minor injuries that incapacitated him. Miss Wisniewski takes up the story. I was terrified at first, she says. The werewolf, because that is definitely what he was, is about 7 feet tall, with these massive hands and claws. I was too scared to move, so he handed me my top and said, "You'll get cold without this." His voice was very deep and posh, as if he was a prince, and his eyes were sad and kind of lovely. I took my top and he said, "You're the first person I've ever spoken to." "Thank you." Then he was gone. Fonting, released on bail pending further inquiries, said, "I'm probably not allowed to say this, but frankly, I think immigration's got right out of control if they're letting werewolves in. I mean, how's he going to get a job?" Fire Group Manager Ellie Bastido, BBC News, 3 days later. The tower block had been burning for nearly 8 hours, and we couldn't get to the upper floors. My team refused to quit, but they were getting dangerously tired. You'd think that after that Kensington fire back in 2017, this wouldn't happen again, but here we are. Suddenly, there were screams behind me. I turned to find what I can only describe as a wall of grey fur. Then I looked up and saw this face. I knew I should have been out of my mind with horror, but he was beautiful. Terrifying, but just gorgeous. A werewolf. It wasn't even night, let alone a full moon, and there he was. "Can I do anything?" he said, and I swear with that voice he could have been reading the news. Sometimes all you have to fall back on is your professionalism, and I said, "Do you obey the normal laws of life and physics?" And he said, "No." And I said, 100 people are trapped on those upper floors. Can you get them without hurting yourself?" He said, "My fur is like armour, and I can hold my breath for a long time, so I'll just pop in and see what I can do. Please can you extend your ladders as high as you can?" Oh, you've seen what happened next. That strange figure with people in his arms leaping out of a burning building onto the ladder. Nobody died. He kept going back in, and obviously there was no point trying to stop him. I thought he'd died when I didn't see him again. Turns out he'd searched the whole place twice, then gone out the back way. Next thing I knew, he had his own chat show. Report W1 by Officer F8. Security Service, Clearance Level 4. Subject is male, bipedal, 7 feet tall to the tips of his ears, and covered in thick but soft grey fur. The fur does not conform to normal wolf standards in that there is no fluffy underlayer. The skin appears black, although it is hard to see because of the fur's density. The fur pattern follows the humanoid shape with a discrete thickening around the backside and genital area so that neither organ is visible. There is no tail or any evidence that there was one. The physique is wiry rather than bulky, although strength and speed are sufficiently disproportionate to suggest an unknown muscle structure. The hands appear too large for the rest of the body, although they have opposable thumbs and the additional size could be useful for gripping. Note: when the subject's grip was exercised, no available mechanism could force release. Despite their size, the hands are exceptionally elegant and agile, like those of a surgeon or pianist. The feet are similarly well formed, although they have pads. The legs do not have a wolf's hocked rear leg and instead follow the human arrangement, e.g. the lower leg bent backwards from the knee. Further analysis of bone structure was not possible because subject is impervious to both X-rays and MRI scans. What little could be ascertained was achieved by touch, which the subject did not resist. The structure seems analogous to a human's, although the skeleton feels different, as if the bones are harder. The hands and feet have retractable claws. As with the fur, these features are unlike any found on a human or known animal and appear, as far as testing will allow, to be indestructible. No samples were therefore taken because cutting through either fur or claws proved impossible. Note: the subject did not object to the attempted removal and was very apologetic about our failure to secure a sample. The skin is not quite as tough, although in any perceived attack the fur rises slightly to become a shield, able to withstand blows with knives, an iron bar, and bullets fired from a comprehensive selection of currently available firearms representing a range of calibers. The experimental laser weapon was also ineffective because the fur diffuses heat. Silver has no effect on the subject, neither do crucifixes, holy water, or copies of the Bible, Quran, and Talmud in any quantity or combination. Attempts at exorcism piqued the subject's interest, but yielded no tangible effects. Subject offered a blood sample by biting his own arm and inserting the syringe needle himself. The blood is red, but a darker tone than that of either a human or wolf. Analysis of the sample is ongoing. Thus far, there is no match between the subject and anything on the DNA database. What is more, while humans and wolves have around 84% DNA in common, the subject has only 42%. Subject's head is neither wolf nor human, but as perfect a blend as can be imagined. The ears stand upright and are large but proportional. The snout is long and well developed. In no sense does it represent a half-breed or anything monstrous. Despite the jaw structure, the subject has no problem with speech and is exceptionally eloquent. The teeth are very white and, despite the subject's friendly demeanour, unmistakably those of a canine predator. However, witnesses have spoken of the subject's extraordinary physical beauty, and it is hard not to concur with these statements. Subject's hearing, taste, and sense of smell are so well developed that they have the same accuracy and sensitivity as our highest specification sensors. No dangerous microbes, spores, bacteria, or other agents were found on the subject. However, given the subject's alien nature, it may be that these factors are present but not recognised. Certainly the subject does not appear to possess the usual bacterial infrastructure for digesting food. There is nothing in the subject's saliva to suggest that his condition is transferable by biting. Injection of subject body fluids into test animals and human volunteers had no effect. Subject was requested to bite a volunteer, upon which the volunteer gained prolonged orgasm and then passed out. There were no other responses over the test period, and the volunteer recovered fully with no ill effects or physical alterations. The subject cooperated fully with all tests, including questions. At no time did he manifest rage or violence, despite the intensity of the procedures. He claims to have no recollection of what he is, where he came from, or why he is here. He became aware about 3 weeks previously in a field near Wadhurst in Kent. This awareness includes consciousness, language, including his name, Gig Danvers, and knowledge he describes as there if he needs it. He has spent the intervening time exploring the countryside. He only made himself known when he came to the aid of a young woman being attacked by her stalker, and later during the rescue of 24 families from the upper floors of a burning tower block in South London. Subject retains werewolf form regardless of lunar phases or the time of day. However, see sub-file note W1X, level 1 eyes only, urgent decision required. From Celebrity Werewolf, the biography of Gig Danvers by Andrew Wallace. A lot of people thought he was a special effect. Even after irrefutable evidence was presented of a genuine werewolf living in the Kingdom of England, people continued to believe that he was some innovative blend of motion capture and hologram, because that expectation was preferable to the reality. Gradually, though, he was accepted as genuine, which is when the real trouble began. It didn't help that for all his physical assets and charm, he was hopeless in interviews. Take this memorable excerpt 3 months after Gig's arrival from Good Morning with Tricia and Abdul. Tricia: Gig, some people are saying that you are Satan. Gig: Are they? Tricia: And your presence means the second coming is upon us. Gig: I see. Abdul: Is either of those assertions true? Gig: You know, I'm really not sure. No one else would have got away with it. As things were, an economy in meltdown combined with a culture that for no other reason than the process of change already felt itself besieged, had blended to create a country united only in the hatred its many opposing factions felt towards each other. Gig's arrival hadn't overturned accepted cultural norms so much as hastened their decline. It left little to believe in, other than a wolf man on a warning TV sofa making a hash of pretending he wasn't the Antichrist. Would Satan be this awkward, though? Surely the devil would relish the chaos of England as this once proud country inched its painful way further into the 21st century. Instead, Gig gathered support simply by having no idea what he was talking about or what he was doing. At least, that's how it seemed at first. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Andrew Wallace, and that was from my novel Celebrity Werewolf, and this is Super Relaxed Fantasy Club. Lots of love. Stay safe.